Okay, we're now going to build the walls to our observatory. This is a workshop demonstration, so we have our fake wooden base here, but this will be your concrete base or whatever in your garden, and we're going to go from there. Okay, we're now going to assemble our walls. We have two panels here, long panel, short panel, doesn't matter which two you have, and we're going to bolt them together using our M6x15 countersunk bolts. You'll notice down the side we have countersunk holes. These match to threaded inserts in the walls, much like on the dome top. Now we're going to get one started. Depending on how level and flat your base is will depend on how easily these line up. They are pretty well matched, but if you do have undulations in your base, we may need to lift one of the panels ever so slightly or twist it. But we just work our way down, finger tight first. We're not worried about where the walls are on the base at this stage, because once we have the walls bolted together, we'll be orientating, measuring and checking for circularity. Okay, we've got all our bolts in down the first two panels. Our top is nice and flat. We're going to repeat the process with the other two wall panels in exactly the same way. Okay, now we've bolted our four walls together, we need to think about orientation of the walls. Now typically we would advise having the door visible from the house where possible, obviously for security and safety measures. Once we've worked out where we want our door, maybe for access or whatever, we generally centralise the walls on a base. So we'd measure the distance to the edge of our base to the edge of each panel, get it roughly centred, just by shifting the dome left and right, easy with two people. But once we have our position set, we're then ready to check circularity and bolt to the floor. We're now going to measure circularity once we've set our orientation. To do this, we use the same point on each wall, which is on the short panel, this end piece here, just above the point. So we're going to measure from here across. Okay, so we have our tape measure across our two points. We're going to measure, and essentially we want the same figure, both axes as we go. To adjust the diameter, we're literally going to pull or nudge the dome into place with a gentle kick or gentle pull until the figure on this axis meets the figure on the adjacent walls. It's exactly the same measuring point, and we want the measurements to be within about 5 millimeters of each other. So now we have our four walls bolted together. We've checked for orientation, we have a door where we want it, we've checked for circularity. We're now ready to bolt the dome walls down to your base. Now, we haven't got marks in the bottom of each wall because it will depend on whether you have underground cable coming into your base, etc. But it's 2 bolts per panel. To do so, we're going to use our SDS drill with a 14mm drill bit. We're literally near the edge of each panel where you can get good access. We're going to drill down through the fiberglass into the concrete. We can use our bolt as our guide. This is an M8 rule bolt, and these expand when tightened. Essentially, we drill our hole, we knock into the hole using our hammer, and then we tighten each bolt with our spanner until a good solid hand feel, and that will lock your base and your walls together nicely. Okay, now we've built our walls, we've bolted them down. Final thing is run a bead of silicone all the way down the join. And we can do that on all 4 joins. Okay, when the dome's complete and you're happy that the base is absolutely dry, we can then silicone the bottom edge to the base. Just trim your silicone nozzle to give a wider feed and run a bead all the way along. It's worth mentioning that the base has to be bone dry for the silicone to adhere. You can also repeat the process on the inside of the walls for a secondary seal. Again, the base does need to be dry though.